I apologize for the hiatus from these videos, but I look forward to getting back to them and picking up where we left off. We had just begun speaking a little bit about the Jewish perspective on the afterlife, the Torah perspective on the afterlife. We had mentioned that this is not something that's spoken about at length in the Torah, but which is elaborated upon by Chazal in the Talmud and especially by the Rishonim. Now, two very different positions as to what happens when we die emerge from the Rishonim, that of the Rambam and that of the Ramban, who in the greatest detail provide different versions of those events. But we'll start with what they have in common and what separates us from many of the other major world religions in our perspective on the matter. Both according to the Rambam and according to the Ramban, really according to everyone, when you die, you go to a fully spiritual existence, which is devoid of all physicality, physical pleasures, material benefits. There is no body. It's only soul and the existence of the soul. And basically what I imagine that's like, if we can imagine and if we can compare it to something, if you've ever had a really strong, maybe even overwhelming feeling of meaning, right? If you've done something that's just truly meaningful to you, not on a physical level, right? It could be a religious endeavor. It could be raising children. It could be teaching someone a lesson. It could be any time where you just get a rich sense of self-fulfillment or meaning. That is essentially the spiritual, that's like a window, that's like a hint to the spiritual sensation, the spiritual satisfaction that's waiting in after we die, right? Now, this stands in contrast to many of the other major world religions, both presently and historically, in their relationship to the afterlife, having either a body or where physical pleasures are not only present, but perhaps even the central component of the afterlife. Now, this seems to be a completely wild position. It is completely counterintuitive that there would be this physical world where we have all these physical desires, and you can't do any of them, or you can't do many of them. They're very, very restricted to you, right? But don't worry, when your physical body, which wants to do all of these things, dies, right, and only your spirit remains, that's when you get to do all these physical pleasures. The whole concept doesn't make sense. I mean, it's a fallacy aimed to motivate people who don't want to follow the religious doctrines in this world by telling them, well, if you do it in this world, if you abstain from pleasures in this world, certain pleasures in this world, you get to basically do whatever you want in the next world. It doesn't make any sense. The next world is more spiritual than this world is. Why would that be the place of physical pleasures? Right? It doesn't make much sense. Rather, the Torah position is that this is the world of pleasures, but in a refined way. In the next world, you'll have more enjoyment, more fulfillment, more pleasure than you can imagine, but it's not going to be physical. It's going to be completely spiritual. Now, where the Rambam and the Ramban diverge is when it comes to what that place is called, and how long it lasts, and how to understand it exactly. According to the Rambam, that place is what we mean when we say Olam Haba. You die, you go to Olam Haba, and that is a place based on your accomplishments, based on your behavior in this world. You have this spiritual experience in the next world that reflects how you performed in this world. Right? That's Olam Haba. However, according to the Ramban, that's actually called Olam HaNishamot. Okay, where you go when you die is this Olam HaNishamot, this domain of souls, and you can either be in Gan Eden, right, or you can be in Gehenom. Gan Eden if you merit it, and Gehenom if you do not merit it. But that is both Gan Eden and Gehenom, heaven and hell, let's say, are refining experiences. Because according to the Ramban, Olam Haba is not the afterlife, so to speak. Olam Haba is not the Olam HaNeshamot. Olam Haba is the next iteration of this world that we are in right now. Right? So we're in this world, Olam Haza, right now. And there are certain rules and certain laws and things go in a certain way. Right? God is relatively hidden from us. We follow this instinctive human nature and we have these mitzvot. But Olam Haba is going to be this world. It's going to be body and soul, but in a way that we cannot possibly imagine. The experience of Olam Haba, which is a physical experience, it's a tangible, it's a material experience, is going to be something which is totally dissimilar to how the world works now, but it will be the world as we know it, just very different. And that's what Tchiat HaMeitim is. The resurrection of, after your refinement, either in Gan Eden or Gehinnom, you are resurrected, Tchiat HaMeitim, you come back, and then you experience this fantastic world called Olam Haba. And that is the eternal existence that we anticipate. The eternal existence of Olam Haba is in this world. It's body and soul, but with the nature of that existence being very, very different to what we can imagine now. Whereas according to the Rambam, it's not the case at all. Olam Haba is where, so to speak, where you go when you die, right? And there's only a soul there, and that's the eternal existence. Which begs the question, what exactly is Tchiat HaMeitim for the Rambam? Well, Tchiat HaMeitim comes in not for the next iteration of this world called Olam Haba. Rather, Tchiat HaMeitim comes in by Yemot HaMashiach, right? By the Messianic era, and the dead will come back to life and experience the Messianic era. Now, those who ask on the Rambam's position, what exactly are we anticipating? What's the value of Tchiat HaMeitim? They're in Olam Haba, right? They're in the greatest place that they could be. Why would you take them out of that? Just to come back to the Messianic era, and then ultimately, by the way, die again and go back to Olam Haba. So, certain things have been suggested within the Rambam's literature based on what he writes in his Hilchot Tshuva, as well as a special letter that he wrote in response to all the questions people asked him about his interesting position in something called Igeret Tchiat HaMeitim. And what he writes essentially is that you have another growth opportunity. First of all, you will bear witness to the Messianic era, but you have another opportunity for growth, right? And to further, once you've experienced Olam Haba is not a place of growth, right? It's a place of enjoyment of your growth. But Tchiat HaMeitim is another opportunity to grow and to improve your position therein. Basically, once you've appreciated what that's like, you get this second chance in order to continue to build yourself in this world. And I think that has very beautiful implications for people who, we see as having died before their time, but who had, tremendous potential. And for whatever reason, HaKadosh Baruch Hu deemed it fit that they needed to be taken from this world, even in a time or a position which we may see as having been taken too early. That served whatever purpose it serves, and we can bear in mind that they have another opportunity. They have another opportunity. It served its purpose. It was what it was meant for, and and that may be difficult for us to process, right? But in Yemot HaMashiach, in the Messianic era, they have the opportunity to come back and have the unfettered opportunity to improve themselves and to correct themselves and to bring themselves to their ultimate chelik in Olam Haba. That is the Rambam's viewpoint, and from there they continue on eternally. And according to the Ramban, after the corrective experience, the spiritual experience that was Olam HaNeshamot, either in Gan Eden or Gehinnom, you come back to this wildly different world through Tchiat HaMeitim, and you live out your days in this ultimate existence of the world, ultimate, eternal state of the world, which is just pure avodat Hashem as an eternal and metukan and corrected spiritual being. That's the Ramban's position as to what exactly is waiting for us.